These are the worst kind of videos. I love making them, but it sucks that it has to be after the fact, and that they get more popular after the fact. What's up, boys? So, it appears that California, at least the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area, is currently on fire. And I did another one of these videos during, I think, a polar vortex on the northeast border, or northeastern seaboard rather. And I want to say the hurricanes and tropical storms in Florida. Some could say that I'm attempting to profit or get views based off of natural disasters, when in all actuality, it is the only time that people find these kinds of videos, so it is unfortunate and a sad fact of information getting propagated. So I thought I would run over again how to prepare for most, if not all, natural disasters, this time being fire. So there will be some things that are slightly different than with, say, a hurricane, an earthquake, some sort of extreme cold weather like a polar vortex or a snowstorm, hail, tornadoes, etc. For most instances, most emergency preparations really come with forewarning or having some sort of pre-event information given to you, i.e. that something will be happening, and having preparations on hand so that you're not having to fight other people for basic amenities for however long your family or you or your family needs those items: food, water, shelter, gasoline, power, etc. So the first rule of thumb is you need enough food or enough calories and water, about a gallon of water per person per day, for 72 hours to 1 week. I like to just say roll that over, have a water purification and storage system that can, handle at least 100 gallons. Something like a Sawyer water filter, a life straw. You could just have extra gallons of tap water that you can filter, a bathtub bladder. People say not to use these. I have no problem. They're relatively inexpensive on 𝙳𝚒𝚘𝚋𝚜𝚌, so just pick one up. Emergency stored food, you can do boat rations, MREs, dried goods like rice, beans, high starch, high fat, canned goods, whatever you're comfortable with, or whatever you can budget for. And you can always build small and work up from there. So yeah, 72 hours to a week. I think FEMA suggests around that much calories per person in your family or household. You can do that math yourself. Also, first aid is extremely important. You don't have to get anything fancy. I suggest a kit, something like this, at home or vehicle borne first aid kit. This one's got 365 pieces, individually sectioned with information and instructions. If you don't know what some of these things are, what they do, it's on the back. I think these are around $40 to $50. Pick up a good quality medical kit, have training, take a Stop the Bleed class, or at the very least, Google how to use a tourniquet, or apply a gauze roll, or a splint, or when to use a litter, or whatever. You can always add to these things, but just having a nice quality 300 to 500 piece medical kit is probably a good idea. On top of that, if you're planning specifically for earthquake and wildfires, which happen a lot in California, you might not need cold weather gear, but people do go into shock. So having those emergency Mylar blankets, that shiny plastic material. You sometimes see it in movies, wrapped around people, or if you've ever seen natural disaster footage, your body can go into shock. They're very good for that, as well as keeping you warm at night. But yeah, so you can get hypothermia with very little temperature fluctuation, especially if you're wet. Having a good way to mitigate that, as well as mitigate shock in your medical kit, probably advised. If you want to add to it, I would definitely suggest a tourniquet from a well-known brand, such as the CAT tourniquet. Having an emergency use stash of small bills, valuables, whatever you need in one place that you can grab if you're quickly leaving, or having money separate and kept in a go bag, bug out bag, get out of Dodge, get home bag, whatever you want to call it. Usually about $200 to $300 if you can do so. I know I keep seeing the data pop up that most households do not have enough cash on hand at any point to handle $1,000 worth of incidental or emergency charges, which is extremely sad, and I hope that that changes for the better for everybody, right? So yeah, having a little bit of emergency cash, or quickly being able to access your valuables to get them out of your home if you need to evacuate, making sure they're not in an easy spot to access, because you don't want them, you know, kept in one communal place like a kitchen drawer or something where somebody could break in and take them from you. But knowing where your things are if you have to quickly leave and you're not having to go upstairs to get your grandfather's watch and then to the basement to get the china. Keep it light, keep it simple, things that you cannot replace. Have your personal information in fireproof bags in a safe or lockbox if you can, and definitely keep doubles, copies, you know, however you so choose to back them up, whether it be scanned and kept on a drive, offline media, something like a external hard drive. This is a Samsung T5. You can get these for pretty cheap nowadays. It's just a simple 1 terabyte, plug them into pretty much all cell phones. You can back stuff up this way or on a flash drive. They're relatively inexpensive. Through Google, most phones have pretty large hard drives. You could keep it in a secure folder on your phone. You could scan copies of your photos. You could digitize your photos. There are services that do that so that you don't have to, you know, manually scan or take photos of physical copies of photos. Your important documents, I understand there are some things you do not want to digitize and just leave on your cell phone or in an open, unencrypted Google Drive. So looking into something with a little bit of encryption or some sort of password security is probably your best bet. I will make some suggestions in the description below, but by no means are they affiliates or any sort of, I don't make any compensation. I've never made $1 off of a YouTube video. And all of my recommendations for products specifically are just from personal use and, you know, track record. So having your backup for your data and your information, keeping things in a central location where they're accessible, having early access to information, i.e. weather alerts, being plugged in, having a radio or some sort of communication device can also be extremely important, and a way to charge it. So something like an external battery bank, extra cords or cables to charge your devices, and be mindful that in some instances you can be cut off from some connectivity and like social structure, i.e. you might lose your cell phone service. You might not be able to go to the store and purchase food. You might not be able to go and get gasoline for your vehicle. And if you're having to move on foot, you should know where you're evacuating to, the routes in and out of your area of town or your area of a city. Just be cognizant of it, kind of understand your location. And if you're traveling, you're not a native, that just comes with the territory. If you're going to a place that you don't live in, learn a little bit about the city before you go there. Be aware of what happens. Like if I was traveling to Baltimore, I would figure out the most common crimes committed in Baltimore. I would figure out the most common vehicles that are stolen in Baltimore. I would figure out the most common weather-related incidents, and I would accommodate for going to Baltimore. However you so choose to prepare is it's on you. If you want to be better prepared, there's an infinite amount of information on the internet. These are just some suggestions. You could have extra changes of clothing, hygiene items, personal medications, if you can afford to have extras of them, inhalers, prescriptions, etc. But this is really the core. You know, some people will go super, super hardcore and say you need this, that, and the third. You need the day packs, you know, all this camping equipment and stuff. This is more for a natural disaster / emergency, not so much full on breakdown of society. That can happen. They say you are 72 hours away from fighting your neighbors for bread in terms of if everything shuts down, there is no rule of law, people will fight over basic necessities very quickly. But in this instance, firefighters, police services may be suspended. You might call 911 because a home next door is on fire, or your home may even be on fire, and they just might not show up. So the mindset is also extremely important. You have to understand you just might have to leave your home, take what you can carry and no more, and get the heck out of Dodge. And that's scary for a lot of people and a lot of reasons, and I understand that. So I've heard many, many times that I must be extremely paranoid for preparing for things, but I sleep like a baby because I know on my worst day I've at least thought this can happen to me, and I've done something to, take the edge off of that a little bit. And yeah, you can too. So I hope the people of the great state of California are not afflicted by these wildfires anymore, but it seems like it keeps happening, and there's been a drought there for the last year, well, many years, but really, really bad in the last year. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't keep burning everything down and that everybody can get out safe and unscathed. And on that somber note, that is it for this video, guys. Catch you in the next one. Peace. I also see a lot of people in the gun or gear guy community or speak ill of people in California, and I hate that. It really bothers me because some of the most argent and well-meaning good dudes who actually get out and train, who ask a lot of questions and who are really mindful about preparedness and training, almost all of the people that I've spoke to have come from California. Not all of them, a lot of them though. There are good dudes there. Yes, there is a majority of an opposing mindset, but they're still Americans. They are still human beings, and they deserve help, and they deserve, basic dignity, regardless of whether or not you ideologically disagree with somebody. You should be able to understand from a rational standpoint that they're going through something horrible. Yes, Gavin Newsom can eat an entire bag of but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, if you pray, I guess. It's really sad, man. I love making YouTube videos, but I hate making this type of video because I don't know how else to help. So I just do what I do, right? Anyway.